I'm going to go straight in this time to introduce my next gorgeous guest. And my next guest is not your average expert. She is the go-to guru for smashing internal conflicts and feeling like yourself again, or even just feeling like, oh my God, I've come home for the first time. This is me. Now, she's not just any old coach, she is a trauma informed clinical hypnotherapist, stress response regulation expert, and a nervous system specialist. No meds, no hours of talk therapy. This is all about evidence-based methods to kick exhaustion and pain to the curb. So if you're tired of feeling like a stress ball because you really want your soulmate and it's exhausting trying to find him, you want to conquer that inner turmoil and become ready, really to reclaim your mojo. If that is you, you're going to love this interview. Welcome to the awesome Faye Lawand.
Hi, Christina. Hi. Good morning. It's morning here in New Zealand. And good morning, good evening to everyone joining us. What a great way that I've never been introduced so well and so
Oh, good.
accurately. I love it. I love it.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, you're in your morning, and we in the UK are going into our evening. In, I think, America on the, say, East Coast, it's sort of later in the afternoon. On the West Coast,
Right.
it's early afternoon. We've got everyone from all sorts of areas of the world. Perfect. I cannot wait to go through what we're going to talk through.
So I'm coming to you from the future, basically, given the audience that we have. I'm like coming to everyone from the future.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Thursday morning here now in New Zealand.
Yes, you're coming from the future.
Yes,
Let's start.
yes.
Let's
And
have
our conversation is all about the future, right? Getting ready
it
for the
is.
future.
And it's bringing the future into the present.
Yeah,
So
100%.
let's put this into context. I think I've got so much I want to ask you. And if I ask too much at once, we'll just narrow it down into bits. So, context. When it comes to desiring one's soulmate, I know
Mm,
women say that no matter what they do, they remain stuck. It's sort of like this place that whatever is happening, whatever they're doing, however much they're trying, it's not shifting anything. I want you to explain that a little bit. Why is that
yeah.
happening? And then we're going to go on to smashing those internal conflicts.
Yes, of course. So, at any time that we're in striving mode, any time that we're constantly searching and constantly on the go, be it like for a soulmate, the next job, the next move, anything in our life, we literally put our nervous system out of balance and we literally are in the doing. We're in the doing
Yeah.
and we're activating and overactivating our nervous system. Now, that's not problematic to activate the nervous system because actually it was designed to be activated and also it was designed to then come back to a state of balance. So that's
Right.
not where the problem lies, Christina. The problem lies when we remain in that cycle persistently, relentlessly, without coming out of it. And
Right.
chances are that if you are in struggle mode in one area of your life, because your nervous system is across all areas, you're
Yeah.
probably also in struggle mode in other areas of your life, and you're experiencing imbalances and blockages in other areas of your life. And that's a little bit tricky when it comes to like calling in love or your romantic love and a soulmate, because of course there's a desire for that, and that's actually a natural human desire. So it's finding the balance between how do I frame the desire without completely depleting myself to also actually even miss the signs, because when we're in that depleted state, we miss the signs. We can no longer read the room appropriately. We
Yeah.
miss the red flags and the green flags because, we talk a lot about red flags, but what about the green flags?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
with my situation with my husband, I missed the green flags because my system was so depleted that I could not see the wholeness and the beauty and the goodness in that
Mm.
man and in that relationship. And you know, I mean, I was in search mode until, you know, the age of 43. I got married for the very first time at the age of 43, when I had given up on love and everybody else around me gave up on me ever finding love.
Oh, yes. And you said that with your husband, you missed the green flags. So
Mm.
did you have to, how did he come back into your life for you to find those green flags, see them?
Yes. Well, you know what they say? Um, love finds you.
Yes.
That's what I heard people say. You know, I never really believed it, right? And you really have to be ready.
Yeah.
My husband and I met my husband in 2008 at a workplace in Dubai, a super, super toxic workplace. And, you know, I mean, I found him lovely enough, but, you know, I certainly did not think that he was the one. I
No.
certainly did not think that he was my soulmate, although all of the attributes that he now has were in him then. I just didn't see them. So, you
Right.
know, I had my second burnout at the time, and that's when I delved really deep into resolving inner turmoil, regulating the nervous system so that I can heal from the inside out and
Mm,
recreate my life from the inside out. And my intention during my healing phase, it was quite a, you know, a deliberate, intentional healing period for a
yeah.
year where I gave up on men, wine, and manicures and pedicures. So it was, I took a year sabbatical from men, manicures, and wine, and I just concentrated on getting to know myself, you
Yeah.
know, and figuring out what's going on with me, where things had gone wrong, what do I want, and what can I do differently in order to get different results.
Yeah.
And at the end of that year, it was a year, I really fell in love with myself again, because there's absolutely no way, the way that we're wired, there's absolutely no way that when you get to know yourself, you're not going to fall in love with yourself. There's absolutely no way, because you really are, when you get to know yourself, you get to know and you get in touch with the completeness and the wholeness of who you are. And there is nothing threatening about that, and there is nothing not joyful about that.
Yeah.
And so, literally, like a couple of days before that sabbatical from men was over, Crispin, my husband, this was like now 5 years later, he just messaged me out of the blue. Literally, he messaged me out of the blue to tell me he had been thinking about me for such a long time. And would I be open to meeting him? Now, he was in New Zealand, I was in the Middle East. So you can imagine there was a geographical situation that we had to navigate. But you know, here we are. We just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. And I know for sure, Christina, that had I not done the inner work, had I
Mm,
not resolved the inner chaos and the inner turmoil that was
yeah.
keeping me literally stuck, my biology and my beliefs stuck, there's
Yeah.
no way this man would have re-entered my life. And also, there's no way we would have made it 10 years and going strong.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think also that I want to ask two questions at once? First of
Mhm.
all, the second question is going to come first. Was there an energetic shift you think that happened? And did he like you the first time he met you and have been thinking of you ever since then? But something then made him reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So 100% there's an energetic shift. You know, this is what I say. I say that happiness, you know, that things like happiness, love, unconditional love, acceptance, romance, forgiveness, all of these things, they're not feelings, they're not emotions. I think this is one of the biggest myths out there, that they're emotions. They lead to positive emotions, but they really are a mindset and they're a decision. You know,
Right.
you take the decision that actually I'm going to love. You know, I'm going to see love. I'm going to be love. I'm going to give love, and I'm going to do love. Right. And then
Oh,
if
I
you
like
want to
that.
say that
Yes.
that shifts your vibe, of course shifts your vibrational
Yes.
frequency. Of course it shifts your energetically. Of course it does. Um, and so being in that mindset readies you then for all the things, all the goodness that already exists around you. But
Yeah.
because of your conditioning, your grievances, your unresolved inner turmoil, you're not seeing it, or you're not aligning with it, or not, it's not aligning with you. So
Yeah.
to answer the first part of your question, yes, I think Crispin picked up on that energetically through Facebook. I mean, this is like, now we're
Ah,
talking about
yes.
2010, 2011, right?
Yeah.
So, and he had at this point moved back to New Zealand. So, I was sharing a lot about my journey, and later on, he told me that there was a couple of posts that really like struck a chord with him.
Yeah.
And it took him a while to even muster up the courage to get in touch, because he thought that now I had become too unavailable for him, because somehow it seemed like I had it all figured out, which I hadn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I was figuring it out, and it is a
Yeah.
process. It's an
Yeah.
ongoing process. And 10 years on, in our marriage, it's a very healthy, stable, beautiful marriage, a beautiful, beautiful love story. But 10 years on, Christina, the inner workings that led me to find my happily ever after with Crispin continue to stay alive in my life and in our marriage, because you don't want you can't experience unconditional love, forgiveness in a marriage, um harmony in a marriage, if you have internal conflicts piled up on top of you, if you're stuck in grievances, and if you're stuck in the past. So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process. So if you're
Yeah.
single, just like you're working on yourself in order for your future self, you're investing in your future self. When you're
Yeah.
actually in the relationship as well, you need to also continue investing in your future self, because
Yeah.
that's the person you want to literally grow old with and move forward with.
Yes. Yes. Can you somehow, I mean, I know there's all sorts of things that you've done, but I love this sort of real powerful statement on smashing those internal conflicts,
Yeah.
because that's what's stopping us even moving forward, especially when it comes to love. I know you deal with so many different areas, but can you explain a little bit about how we can smash those internal conflicts?
Sure, absolutely. Because unless those internal conflicts are resolved, you will remain in a conflict state of wanting the love but not desiring it. Sorry, not having it
Not
live in your
having it,
life,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it starts with something that most people don't like to hear, which is taking radical responsibility for your life and for your future.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most people actually, they want the results, they want the outcome, they want the happily ever after, but they want to remain in blame state and blame game. Now, if you do that, there is no way you are going to access the incredible, immense internal power and resources for you to come out of the stuck states and the conflict, right? So,
Mm,
like, let's just get that off the bat. Now, what does it
yeah.
mean to take radical responsibility? It basically means that you make a decision that your life is your responsibility. Your happily ever after is your responsibility. Finding love is your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of your society or your culture or your cultural conditioning, or the responsibility or the blame of your parents or your circumstances. It is 100% your responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
once that happens, then you need to get really clear on what you want instead. Like, I don't one of the most powerful things that I did, I know it's very, very simple. I actually wrote a list of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I know many of us have done that. I know I have. I know. But I did it many times until I got it right. Because the thing is, what you're doing when you're writing the list, you're actually sending messages out into the universe about what you're looking for, especially if you're
Yeah.
in that ready state. And
Yes.
if you're not really thorough and really clear
Yes.
about what you're looking for, the universe will deliver. So I know when I did this before Crispin re-entered my life, I thought I had done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And I had this little fantasy when I was younger about marrying an Italian man and like having my honeymoon in Venice and living happily ever after somewhere in Italy, right? And so on my little, vision board, I put, all of the attributes of about the Italian man, what he looks like, what he does, etc., etc., etc. Well, a few weeks later, I met him. I met him. Just and it swept me off my feet, and it was like, oh my God. And then I discovered a few weeks later, this man is not emotionally available. This man is actually still married. Now, when I went back and I looked at the list, I never put on the list that this man is emotionally available.
Yeah.
That never actually entered my consciousness
No.
to actually declare that I want a man who's emotionally available. So when I did this again, not only did I claim that I want somebody who's emotionally available, but I actually claimed that I want this man to be my husband, my
Oh,
soulmate, my
yes.
lover, and my best friend. That is what I claimed. And that's what
Yes.
I got. Now,
Ah,
so then comes the deep inner work. So we're taking the radical responsibility. We're getting really clear on what we want, like really clear, not what you don't want, like really clear on what you want.
yeah.
And then it's weeding out the stuff internally that
Oh,
is not
yes.
delivering what you've written on the list. So, what does that mean? It
Yeah.
means things like limiting beliefs.
Yes.
If you have, like in my case, I had a limiting belief that I'm not lovable enough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so many women have that belief, and
Yeah.
that belief comes out of trauma. When
Yeah.
we've experienced a trauma, it's just a function of what happens in the nervous system in that moment when you're
Mm,
so overwhelmed.
yeah.
Quite literally, the overwhelm wouldn't happen if you had what it took to help you deal with the situation. And this is not to cast blame, this is
No.
just a neurological response, right? And
Yes.
so, because there was such an accumulation of trauma that I wasn't aware of consciously,
Yeah.
internally there was a narrative that was formed that I'm not lovable enough. Well, Christina, if you go around the world and around your interactions with a belief system, I'm not lovable enough, well, there's absolutely no way that you're going to be in the vicinity, the energetic vicinity of anybody who believes the contrary to that. So
Yes.
that's one limiting belief that was very, very, very limiting. Another really limiting belief that I had in that context was around marriage and happiness cannot
Mm.
coexist. Commitment and happiness cannot coexist because that internal conflict came from all the previous internal conflicts of observing conflict in the marital home with my parents and
Ah,
everybody in their generation.
yes.
When I did the inner work, I went back and I thought about all the people that we spent a lot of time with growing up. There wasn't a single example, not one single example of a woman who is married in a committed relationship who is fulfilled and happy.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
if you've seen that, and it sounds like it's also generational and all
Mm,
around you, so it's very deep,
very.
and then you suddenly recognize that. How do you shift that? Because if it's generational and all around you, it's seeped into you, hasn't it? it's
You need
it's
to do
like a
the inner
very,
work.
you have to really
You cannot
do
do that
some.
cognitively. You can't do it
No,
cognitively.
you
You can't.
can't.
You
No.
can't. You need to go in and do the work at the level at which these limiting beliefs or these internal conflicts are stored and created. And that's the level of the nervous system and the level of the subconscious mind, like the deep
Right.
inner mind,
Yes.
deep inner mind.
Yes.
So other
And
examples of
yeah.
internal conflict. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, don't. No, it's fascinating. I want to just come back on something. So, if
Of
you've got to go
course.
back to the level of that inner conflict that's stored in your subconscious mind and or your nervous system, how do you reach the nervous system and go, right, I've got it?
So the nervous system is in literally in every detail of your life, like quite literally in every detail of your life. So when
Mm,
I'm talking about the nervous system, I'm talking about the autonomic nervous system. Yeah, I'm talking about the part of your nervous system that isn't your brain and your spinal cord, the part
no,
of your nervous system that is actually that automates all your internal functions, all of them,
right.
all
That's
your
deep.
internal systems, all your internal glands, but also that automates your responses, your emotional responses, your stress responses, your relaxation
Mm,
responses. So your
yeah.
nervous system not only is in your biology, it's in your beliefs, it's in your behavior, it's in the choices you
Yes.
make, the actions you take, the non-actions that you take, right?
Yes.
And the nervous system, when it gets overloaded, because of internal conflict, because of overstriving, because of overexerting, it goes into survival mode.
Yeah.
Being in survival mode is quite contrary to being in the type of state that energetically invites in love, romance, passion, and joy. Because neurologically, biologically, we cannot be in a survival state and enjoy states as well. The two don't go together. They
No.
absolutely don't go together. And so, you know, if you're listening to this and you happen to be someone like the clients that come to me and you feel you've tried everything, I hear you. I mean, I was there. Please go back to the basics. And the basics are to start with the building blocks of your biology, the building
Mm,
blocks of who you are, and look at your nervous system. Now, one of the gifts that we have is a nervous system calendar with 30 practices to get you
yes.
started. This is not the full enchilada, but it gets you started and plant seeds about what else you can be doing in order to support the nervous system, which is the first step in doing the inner work, and to fast track the inner work. Because
Yes.
once your nervous system is grounded, regulated, flexible, and balanced, everything goes back to the way nature designed it to the way nature intended it to. And nature intended for us to be in states of joy and receptivity. It intended that for us. We are
Yes.
designed to be coupled. As women, we're designed to be coupled. And part
Yes.
of what happens when the nervous system is so much in sympathetic activation or very much in the doing, exerting, efforting, overthinking, we imbalance the masculine and the feminine energies, Christina.
Yeah.
And I see this so much now in modern women in the West.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
not saying that we go back to the tradition. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm advocating for, to go back to the traditional roles of women. No, not at all. But what I'm saying is to uh, attend to the feminine energies
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
attend to balancing up the doing and the receiving, to the
Mm,
doing and the feeling, the
yes.
doing and the stillness, to
Yeah.
just balance that out. And as these things come into balance, because they do, because we were designed to be in balance, then
Yeah.
all the other pieces, all the other things that you wrote down on your map will actually come to you. But you need to do the inner work in order to be ready for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this is all resonating so powerfully. I can relate to it. I know so many women here can relate to it, and women who watch it later. I sometimes when we hear, and it's absolutely right to do the inner work, but sometimes we hear and we think, work? Oh my gosh, what else do I have to do? I've struggled for so long. I've worked so hard. I've got nowhere, and now I've got to do more. Are you able to reframe inner work to be a little bit more joyous?
you're, you're not gonna like what I'm about to hear, but it's hard work to go through life depleted and unhappy and unfulfilled. Like, isn't that hard work?
It
I
is.
mean,
It is.
when we talk about work, we're talking about putting effort in order to get a reward, right?
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
go when we go to when we go to work, to our jobs, we're putting in effort, we're investing time in order to
Yeah.
get a reward, a resource, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with ourselves. It's an investment of time, energy, and in some cases, financial resources in order to reap a reward that will significantly and generously change the quality of your life and your
Yeah.
life experience.
Yes. I
I,
love, yeah. I mean,
I
it
do,
is right.
I, it's a
I just,
commitment. It's a
yeah,
commitment. It's an investment. It's an
yeah,
investment in self.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw that out there because I think so many people ask that question, and the way you've responded to it is exactly right. If we looked at other areas of our lives, like a lot of women are um, very successful, got their own businesses or in corporate, have done so much to create that physicality of life that looks so good, yet still go, but hold on, I don't have love. And that's the bit that's missing. But actually, to get the physicality, I include myself there because I used to be in corporate, worked hard to create the reward of, let's say, lovely home, nice lifestyle, etc. It doesn't just come to you, you've worked for it.
Yes.
Now, if you want that other side, as I have done as well, and you have done, we had to work on ourselves. And the reward is beyond what you can actually verbalize because it is such, like you said, it's such a deep thing. Women, we want that receptivity, the joy, the connection. It is who we were designed to be. I
Yes.
want to ask a left of center question. It won't be
Go
left of
for it.
center to you, but it's sort of just came to me because I want to ask it of you with all your experience. And that is, very rarely, but it does happen, somebody will say, but am I really meant to be in love? Maybe my purpose is to be single. Maybe I'm supposed to be on my own. Or even some women have said, I'm okay, I'm fine being on my own, yet they're on these type of shows, but I'm fine to be on my own. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I relate to that. My past self can see myself in everything that you said. So just
Mm,
to address the first part of your question about are we meant to be in love or coupled or
yes.
whatever, I would say, you know, you're meant to be where you put your heart and your intention. Like, and what I mean by that is like if you truly, truly
Yeah.
desire and intend for, a single, happily single life, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And you're really aligned with that, not just with speech, but
Yeah.
internally with beliefs, with feeling, with energy, then there is no problem.
Yeah.
But where the problem lies is where we start telling ourselves things to compensate for the absence of what we desire,
Yeah.
that then leads to more limitations and more limiting beliefs. I mean, I know that I played those games with myself, when I had a string of failed relationships by the time I turned 40. And Christina, I come from the Arab world, I come from the Middle East, I'm Lebanese. So there's always huge pressure to get married, and also huge shame that I wasn't. Huge
Yes.
shame
Yes.
at the age of 43, I was still single. And, what's wrong with her? She's well educated, blah, 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 has a good career, so you take on, it's easy to take on other people's narrative. And then
Yeah.
in order to protect yourself from that shame, because shame is very harmful to our psyche, you start telling yourself things that you don't believe to be true.
Yeah.
And look, we can go around telling people what we want. That's fine, but please don't lie to yourself. Don't
Yeah.
keep the truth from yourself.
Yeah.
Be truthful with yourself. And
Yes.
I don't know if I addressed all parts of your question. Have I?
I think it does, because I think even if it does, because really even if you think, oh, it's my sole purpose to be single, which was another way that I put it, if you feel that's your truth and everything sings and dances and feels
Yeah.
great inside, then okay, fine, because you're happy.
No issue.
It feels right.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, you did answer it. Yeah. Thank you. I love it. We put in the chat also a bit about we've put your free gift in the chat. We will put into the chat also what we've discussed. Let's see what Danielle's saying. She's been single for about 3 years after a rough ending to a 17-year-long relationship. And she spent this time alone doing a lot of inner work and healing. She's learned so much about herself, and she's grateful she's had the time to herself. But now she is ready and open to welcome in her divine soulmate, true love. That sounds very lovely and earth in the way she's saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. And beautiful. I applaud Danielle for doing the inner work, and for letting go of the grievances and the hurts of the past, because those are some of the strongest and heaviest internal conflicts. Where and the lack of forgiveness. You know, I've learned a lot about forgiveness through my journey. And I think forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood practices out there. We can say with our words that I forgive someone, but our internal speech, our internal thought process, and our intentions towards them may contradict those words. And that means your system is still stuck in the past and is still stuck in grievance. And so unforgiveness is one of the most conflicting things for your system. It's one of the most heaviest internal conflicts. Holding on to hurts, holding on to grievances. And we all have hurts and grievances. It's part of life's journey. But part of life's growth is committing to releasing those grievances and those hurts and those internal conflicts, so that we can move forward to where we want to go and who we want to be.
Yeah. And when you talk about forgiveness, which is a difficult thing, a lot of people say, so I wonder if this relates to what you would say about it as well, it's not necessarily forgiving the other person, it's forgiving ourselves for what we have felt about the other person.
And I'll take it one step further and say that all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, absolutely. And it's, forgiving ourselves for feeling that way, but also forgiving ourselves for taking on what the other person, what the other person threw on us intentionally or unintentionally, and believing it to be true. And that is huge. It's taken me, because of something big that's going on in my own life, and there's something big that I need to forgive. I thought that I had forgiveness figured out, because I even help my clients with forgiveness. But I've realized this big thing that has happened, that has really called on me to dig really deep to forgive. I've come to realize that forgiveness is so misunderstood, because first of all, you need to decide that you want to forgive, like truly decide that you want to forgive yourself, to forgive yourself for taking on the other person's stuff, but also to surrender the heaviness and the load to something bigger than you. Now, I know that for a lot of people, they don't like to hear that. But for big things and big loads, we cannot do it on our own. We need a little bit of energetic cosmic help. And I think there's something so comforting knowing that you don't have to do it on your own, that you can actually release it to something bigger with the right intentions, and let that force, that energy, help you as well to move forward and to lift the heaviness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful, because that's the co-creation and the co-forgiveness, and everything is done in two, isn't it? Internally, externally, higher, inner, divine, inside and outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe it. We're at the end. Is there anything is there anything else you would like to say? I would say about your free gift, and we'll put the link in the chat again, because we mentioned it earlier. So just want to
Mm.
come back to it and close with your free gift, this 30 days. If you can just explain that a little bit again.
Yes, of course, with pleasure. And leaving you with one final thought. The most important relationship you will ever have in your life is not the relationship with your kids, not the relationship with your soulmate, not the relationship with your parents. Those are all very important relationships, but it's the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And until that relationship is on track,
Yeah.
finding the joy in a romantic relationship will not be possible, because
Mm,
it's not just finding the relationship. You want it to be a happy relationship, you want
yeah.
it to be a harmonious relationship with your significant other.
Yeah.
But until that relationship with yourself is fostered and strengthened, that other stuff will continue to elude us.
Yeah.
And this links me to the nervous system practices and the freebie, because there's some ideas there about how you can support your nervous system to nourish your nervous system so that you can take care of yourself and get to
Yeah.
know yourself and be there for yourself in
Yeah.
order to be in that good place for good things to happen. Not just love, but like good things to happen
Yes.
all around you.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to end this. Thank you so much.
It's such a
Um,
pleasure, Christina. Thank you
oh,
for doing this.
it's
I wish when I was single and searching I had come across you.
oh, thank you. Well, we're going to do more of this, so I can't wait to connect with you again. And
Likewise, likewise.
thank you for your insights and your time.
Thank you, Christina. All the
Bye for
best,
now.
everyone.
Yes, bye.